Let's not keep our guests waiting. It is the Patrick Netherton Show, 1130 The Tiger, and we're pleased to welcome in the Director of Strength and Conditioning from LSU. He is Tommy Moffitt. And, Coach, first of all, obviously kind of in what are some weird and uncertain times, how are you doing? The family doing well? You got a couple of athletes in the family. How's everyone doing?
So, as of right now, the Moffitts are doing well. We're all healthy, and we're quarantined here at the house and doing whatever we can do throughout the day to stay busy and to continue to be productive and live our life as normal as we possibly can.
It's interesting because you're in one of the most sort of, for lack of a better term, contact professions that there is, right? You're out there, you're leading your guys, a lot of your job and your assistants' jobs are to pump guys up, to keep them motivated. Hey, get that extra rep, if you can do an extra 20 pounds on this, do it. What's it like when you kind of lose that ability to have that in your face contact with the guys that you're training?
Yeah, well, it's almost impossible for us to do our job. And actually, it's kind of ironic because the NC2A has really limited what we're capable of doing for obvious reasons because, one of the easiest ways, what's the word I'm looking for, to contaminate someone is to breathe on them.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot that we can do as far as monitoring our players. Our weight room is closed. Our entire facility is locked down, and it's like that across the country. The NCAA was explicit in their demands, and so we're following protocol, and we can only touch base with our guys and offer them suggestions and send them videos. We actually printed out a manual before we left because we found out like on the 12th or 13th that we were going to have to break. So over the weekend, our staff sat down and we formulated, I think, a really good plan with multiple options for them to do. And we went in on Monday and shot videos of all of that. So we were able to give each player on our team a PDF that we've sent them multiple times. We gave them hard copies of it along with the videos. And so hopefully they're all doing what they're supposed to do.
You've been in the business for a while now, Coach, and you've kind of seen the transition from, athletes that went home during the summer and kind of worked out on their own to now the guys, they rarely leave campus. They're usually there all summer. They're working out together all summer. Do you almost have to go back to, even though you have better technology now and you can record videos and PDFs and all of that stuff, but do you almost have to go back in some way to what you used to do in terms of, hey, we're going to send these guys home with a plan and try to check in on them as much as we can?
Absolutely, and we've talked about that. And then when we do reconvene, the type of work that we do is going to be very similar to the way that it used to be because of our inability to have face-to-face contact with them over this time period. And it could be, so our return date as of now is May 31st. So if we're able to return, because we were not supposed to get together again until like June 7th.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're able to get back March 31st, we would have missed out on, 3 months of work, which is significant, but at least we would still have the months of June and July to get ourselves in shape, and that would be fine. If it continues past that, then we're going to be crunched for time.
Yeah, talking to Tommy Moffitt, the Director of Strength and Conditioning for LSU. I'm curious, and we'll get into a little bit of kind of the differences in the various styles of strength and conditioning and methods and methodology and whatnot, but is there an open dialogue between you and whether it's folks in the conference or folks that you worked with before, that worked for you before, is there a lot of dialogue that goes on within the strength and conditioning community when you're faced with a challenge like this? Hey, what are you guys doing? What are you looking at doing? Do you talk a lot to other strength and conditioning guys?
Well, so the strength staffs or strength and conditioning coaches, we've actually there's been a lot of communication. In fact, I was just on the phone with one of my peers just a minute ago. Yes, so there's been lots and lots of Zoom meetings and house parties and you name it. Google Meet, whatever gathering site there is on the World Wide Web, we've used it. Now, as far as with the conference or the NC2A, all of that is communicated through our athletic department. So I've, talked to my immediate supervisor who answers to Scott Woodward. I've had conversations with Coach O, and I know that based on the conversations that I've had with people here, there's ongoing talks with making plans, and, they just ask me questions and I give them my thoughts. And so nothing has been discussed about what the plans are going to be, but the NC2A's got this down pat. They're working their tails off.
Yeah.
Try to make sure they do what's right, not just for the programs, but for the players. And, the athletes are the ones that should be the most important aspect of this entire ordeal.
Absolutely.
Protecting their safety and well-being should be number one, and I'm sure it is.
No doubt about that. How do you keep up with your guys, your student athletes? Is it, you mentioned Zoom, there's WebEx, there's FaceTime. Like what tools are y'all using to keep up with your guys?
So Zoom, so the players have individual and group meetings by position with their position coach. They're allowed 4 hours a week where they can watch film. I was just earlier this afternoon, I was on with the running back group, and so they're actually able to show film, cut-ups from practice and games, and talk about different scenarios. It's just like being in a staff meeting, being in a position meeting. So we've used Zoom and then, of course, FaceTime, text, and cell phone.
Talking to Tommy Moffitt, the Director of Strength and Conditioning for LSU. Coach, this is, you've been at it for so long, and I know that yours is a profession that's sort of ever changing. You're always trying to stay on the cutting edge of, hey, this new particular way of exercising is better than this way, speed versus strength, and both, all that kind of stuff. What's it like trying to sort of keep up with what you're doing while at the same time staying true to what you believe in terms of how you go about teaching these guys and what lifts you use, what training styles you use, what methods you use?
Well, so, our profession has changed a lot over time because of technology, but our DNA hasn't. And the only way to get strong is to lift heavy weights, and the only way to get faster is to run fast. So the end result is still the same. It's just the methods and the means by which we go about it that's changed. So you still have to lift a heavier barbell, and you still have to sprint. You still have to squat and power clean. So none of that has changed. But what technology has allowed us is to make sure that we're prescribing it and dosing it and in a manner so that you do the least amount of work to get the largest gain possible. Because stress, whether it's mental stress, physical stress, emotional stress, it all has the same effect on the body. And so you want to do as little work as possible to get the largest gain from it. And then that way you ensure that your athlete stays healthy, he doesn't get hurt, and he continues to improve over a longer period of time. And so that's what we do. We have, here at LSU, we have every imaginable piece of technology that we have. And we like to say that every time one of our football players wiggle, we measure it. Whether it's indoors or outdoors, we monitor every movement that they make. We go into the our staff meetings and we pull all that data up, and we try to program based on every player's strengths, weaknesses, and injury status. So if there's 35 young men or women, because every athlete has access to the same technology these days that football has. So we sit down and we talk about each athlete. And if there's, again, 35 people in there working out, there's 35 different workouts going on at the same time. So we're able to prescribe and dose it in a manner to ensure that that athlete is doing everything possible so that we're able to put the very best product on the field. And there is no guesswork anymore. If a guy's not in shape, we know it long before the competition has began. And as long as that young man or that young lady is compliant, then we know that they're going to be in optimal shape come game time.
Is that maybe the biggest advance in strength and conditioning, is the ability to get feedback almost immediately on what you're doing and how it's affecting the athlete?
Absolutely, and it's not almost, it is immediately.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, for instance, when we are in the weight room, if an athlete is performing 5 reps of the back squat, he gets immediate feedback at the completion of every rep, and it's right in front of his face. So when you're training for strength, the barbell moves slow because the weight is heavy. If it's too slow, then he can't complete the set. And if it's not slow enough, then the weight is not heavy enough. Mm-hmm. So we're able to monitor that the entire time that young man or that young lady is working out. And then when we're outside running, now the feedback is immediate for us because we have our devices are wireless, and we have connectivity out on the practice field. So while we're practicing or while we're conditioning, we can look at each individual player's velocity and time and distance and heart rate, minimum heart rate, maximum heart rate, average heart rate, all these different variables while they're actually working out. So all of this stuff, we get immediate feedback, and it is phenomenal. It takes all the guesswork out of it.
Talking to Tommy Moffitt, the director of strength and conditioning for LSU. Coach, we see a lot of on the sidelines, the TV broadcasts love to highlight the crazy strength and conditioning coach, right? We always see those guys. They're headbutting dudes with helmets on. They're bleeding from their forehead. I don't feel like you're that type of guy, but how would you say is, what's your demeanor like on a typical game day? Are you the more analytical, cerebral, laid back guy, or are you the up in the face, hitting a guy with a helmet, bloody forehead guy? Or in between?
No, I'm not going to headbutt anybody. Those days are long gone. But I am definitely the hype man.
Yeah.
First of all, I have the best job in America. I really do. I feel sorry for my brothers, my sisters. I have the greatest job in the world because I get to do what I love to do every day. And when we're playing in the game, I have the best seat in the house. It's phenomenal. And I love the spirit of college athletics. And I just get overcome with it. And I've got a staff of guys that love it also. And we just have a lot of fun with it. And working for Coach O is phenomenal because he's just like the rest of us. He's fired up, and it just makes coaching and college football so much fun.
Do y'all strap him up, by the way? Do y'all put the monitors on him at any point? Because he's a well-built human being, especially for his age.
Yeah. No, Coach. No, we don't strap him up. But he works out though. He works out every day.
No, you can definitely see that guy stays in shape. by the way, Coach, I know one of the guys that you're proud of, Jared Myatt, was our strength and conditioning coach at Northwestern, just left for Texas Tech. Based on what he has shown in his couple of years, based on knowledge he got from you, it is obvious you're one of the best, if not the best, in the business, and we really do appreciate your time today, Coach.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much for having me on.
All right, Tommy Moffitt, Director of Strength and Conditioning for the LSU Tigers.